Today's video will surprise most Americans. We're looking at why crashed Teslas are ending up in Ukraine of all places, the hidden operation that's selling and shipping them overseas, and why this will cause our car insurance here in America to increase astronomically in the near future. A man in Vancouver, Canada got an eerie notification on his phone. The alert told him that his model Tesla Y was in Ukraine and needed his help. But here's where things get strange. This was the same Tesla Model Y that the man had sent to the graveyard never to be heard from again, except now he was hearing from it again. You see, earlier his EV had been in a serious highway accident. The wheels were ripped beyond repair and the coolant chamber looked like it was leaking into the battery chamber. Short story, things didn't look good. But the long story is, the man was a mechanic. He knew that no auto shop would put a repair person at risk with that kind of damage. Remember, EV stands for electric vehicle. And when an electric vehicle is damaged to that extent, you're looking at a serious risk of shocks, fire, and toxic fumes. So the man spoke with his insurance, both agreed it was time to put his EV out to pasture. And so, the man bid his final words to his beloved EV as it went off to the salvage lot. And that was that. Or so he thought. But then months later, out of the blue, he got a ping on his Tesla app telling him that his Tesla needed a software update. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Then, he noticed that his Tesla Model Y had an extra 100 plus miles on the odometer, and it was also fully charged. If you think that's crazy, it gets crazier. The man then noticed that the EV was sitting out parked in Ukraine, and that's when he saw that his former Tesla had been renamed as Mike. The not-so-new and improved Mike was later found on a Ukrainian car auction website. The car was being marketed as having suffered a small blow in Canada, but repaired with the original Tesla parts. But check this out. It was now being sold at nearly the same price as a brand new Tesla here in the United States. If you think that's bizarre. Now wait till you hear what happened to another guy. This guy owned a Model X. After an accident, the EV was declared as a write-off and sent off to the EV graveyard. Months later, the man received a notification telling him that his Tesla Model X was online. In an even weirder turn of events, he saw that the Tesla was still connected using his login credentials, so he was able to pinpoint its location in Ukraine. My favorite part of the story has to be the next part. Not only was his Tesla logged in with his credentials, but the new owner of his Tesla was listening to music using his original owner's personal Spotify account. Anyway, the original owner posted a bizarre story on social media, and as you can imagine, his post went viral. I'm talking 20 plus million views and counting. And of course, the question on everyone's mind is, how is this even possible? Well, it turns out the car got put up on an auction site Copart with a salvage title. It got bought on auction without his knowledge and shipped to Ukraine. The man reached out to Tesla and was given step-by-step instructions on how to remove his account from the Model X. The problem was that one of the steps required entering the new owner information, which obviously the original owner did not have. The third man's insurance policy deemed his Tesla total due to a combination of high Tesla auction sale prices and the insurance company's insistence that Tesla would require an entire new battery, even though according to the original owner the battery was not damaged. Despite trying to sway his insurance company, the company wouldn't budge, so the man had to say goodbye to his Tesla. Then one day, as I'm sure you've already guessed, the original owner got a notification in his Tesla app. It read software update complete. That's when he realized his Tesla had been renamed. After trying to locate the car, he eventually found its location halfway between Lviv and Kiev. If you're wondering why and how all these total Teslas are being sent to Ukraine, well, believe it or not, this isn't something new. It's actually been happening for years. After a North American mechanic deems a Tesla to be unrepairable or not worth the risk of repair, the EV typically gets sent to a scrapyard. But some scrapyards have figured out that they can make more money selling the crashed EVs on an auction rather than selling the parts. That's why many crashed Teslas have made it across the pond to other countries. Ukraine is a hotspot because, well, Ukrainian mechanics have no problem working on damaged EVs. In fact, this practice has become so common that some Ukrainian mechanics have even made this their specialty. This has partially helped increase the amount of new EVs in Ukrainian roads, despite the fact that the country is in the middle of a war. If you don't believe me, just look at the stats. The thing is, Ukraine has different laws and regulations about what's total versus not. So, an EV that's considered total in the US isn't considered total in Ukraine. Right now, very few car makers sell new EVs in Ukraine. Yet, the amount of newly registered EVs is 9% across the country. That sounds about the same percentage we have here in the States. And that's double the amount of EV registrations in neighboring countries like Poland and Czechia. In fact, studies have found that most of the refurbished EVs in Ukraine were sent straight over from North America. Believe it or not, Ukraine is one of the top 3 destinations for used passenger vehicles. The other 2 countries are Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates. These countries have tons of professional car flippers. And John general, it takes a damaged North American car between 1 to 5 months to reach a nearby port. For Ukraine, that used to be the port of Odessa on the Black Sea. But due to the war, right now many of the vehicles are entering through Klaipėda, which is the third largest city in Lithuania and sits on the Baltic Sea, or Koper on Slovenia on the Adriatic Sea. Once a vehicle arrives in these ports, it then gets transported to Ukraine by truck. Once in Ukraine, it goes to a repair shop and can come out looking as good as new. And this can take anywhere from 1 week to a year depending on the extent of damages and availability of parts. Malakovsky is just one of many mechanics across Ukraine who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty and get damaged Teslas sent in from abroad to repair. Apparently, he fixes about 100 Teslas a month. That's almost 3 a day, and some 20% of them come from overseas. Currently, he's serving in Ukraine's armed forces, so while he's away, his staff of 6 to 10 people continue to work on EVs. Here's the thing about the EV battery. It's a very complicated creation. It's made up of thousands of unique and individual cells. It's these cells that store and release the energy an EV uses to drive. But an EV battery can be used to power much more than just an EV. That's why when Ivan and his team receive an EV battery that's damaged beyond repair, they break it apart and repurpose the cell. So now the EV battery that once powered your Tesla is now powering an electric scooter or even war drones. The majority of Teslas that you see on Ukrainian roads right now were once involved in a car crash of some sort in North America. Now, most people think about EV-friendly countries. Ukraine is typically not on your list. But currently, Ukraine has a public charging network of around 11,000 chargers. That's more than the entire state of New York and double of what exists in Poland. Not only are high gas prices pushing Ukrainian drivers towards EVs, the government is also pushing them through incentives. Since 2018, the Ukrainian government removed most taxes and customs duties on used EV imports. Funny enough, Teslas are becoming so common in Ukraine that it's become a joke that poor people in the country drive electric cars while the rich drive gas-powered cars. Imagine the irony. Ukraine's success is North American insurance's failure. The reality is, every year repairs of newer EVs get increasingly more expensive because they come with ever more complex and high-tech features. On top of that, there's a shortage of vehicle technicians who specialize in EVs. That's why insurers are quick to write off damaged EVs. Believe it or not, in America, EVs are more likely to be written off than gas-powered cars. They're also more likely to be deemed as unfixable even after a minor crash. The reality is that most EVs just aren't as easy to repair as gas-powered vehicles. Then, of course, there's a global debate on what to do with the EV battery after a crash. Also, right now, there's no global industry standard on measuring battery health. Here's another thing about America. American scrapyards aren't big fans of electric cars. Reason is, unlike gas-powered cars, dismantling an EV battery requires lots of equipment, workers, and space, mainly because of fire risks of storing lithium-ion cells that burn at over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Your average Joe dismantler won't have any of that. On top of complications with dismantling an EV battery, EVs usually have simpler drivetrains with more plastic and larger prefabricated body components. These components are not easy to pull apart. And in EVs that have a battery built directly into the car's structure, it's even harder to pull apart or repair. All this is to say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So, think about this for a moment. If insurance companies are quick to call wrecked EVs as totaled, that's a lot of dough they're paying out to drivers. And who pays for that? Well, ultimately, it's insured consumers. My bet is that as EV sales grow, insurance premiums will increase astronomically to account and make up for the total EVs. That's in addition to the fact that insurance premiums for EVs are typically higher than for gas-powered cars. Anyway, if you have an EV right now or thinking about getting one, should you worry about your data going overseas if or when you total an EV? Well, if you have a Tesla and you're logged into your Google, Netflix, and Spotify accounts in the car, you should log out of your accounts before saying goodbye. But what if you total your car without an opportunity to log out? Really, who's thinking about that when you're in a wreck? In that case, there's a substantial amount of data and personal information that will likely remain stored in your EV even after an accident. Whatever personal data is still in your vehicle when it gets sent overseas will fall into the hands of the next owner of your EV. Remember the mechanic from Vancouver? Well, he asked Tesla support what to do. Tesla advised him to change the passwords to his account. Interestingly enough, across the U.S., there's increasing pressure to prevent or reduce wrecked EVs from being sent overseas. There are many different reasons for this. Just imagine the disaster if a damaged EV's battery catches fire on a cargo ship. Other critics are against dumping our e-waste on other countries. Let's look at Taiwan first. You might think it's just a small, innocuous island and nothing more. But here's the thing. Not many people know know this, but Taiwan makes more than 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. Last year alone, Taiwan exported some $118 billion worth of chips. And that's despite the global chip shortage we've been seeing the last couple of years. Let's start by looking at semiconductor chips themselves. Typically, chips are made out of silicon, and they're responsible for the control and memory functions in various products. I'm talking about everything from computers to smartphones to even microwaves and, of course, cars. In modern high-tech cars, semiconductors are needed for important functions like safety features, sensors, displays, power management, infotainment, power steering, and more. Modern electronics and computers just can't run without these chips. So you can see why any company or country that makes them has a powerful position to be in. But now, imagine a small area of land is responsible for most of the chip production in the world, and that is Taiwan. It's a bit smaller than 13,000 square miles. We're talking almost the size of the U.S. states of Delaware and Maryland combined. Or you can think of it as a tad larger than the country of Belgium. But its population is over 23 million people, making it one of the most densely populated countries in the world. So, here in the small, dense place is where most of the world's semiconductors come from. The largest chip maker in Taiwan is also the largest maker in the world. They make almost 50% of the global supply, and that's the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company Limited, or TSMC for short. To put that into perspective, just view the top chip makers side by side. The second most powerful company in the chip market is Samsung, which is located in South Korea. They account for 17% of the world's chip production. And the largest chip maker outside of Asia is Global Foundries. It's actually an American company, but they only make 7% of the world's production. So you can see the large disparity in volume, and you can see why TSMC alone is crazy important to the world, let alone the car industry. TSMC was founded back in 1987. They make all sorts of chips for various industries. Their biggest customers include Apple, AMD, Nvidia, ARM, Broadcom, and more. By the way, did you know that Apple is their biggest customer? Apple makes up 26% of TSMC's revenue. But recently, TSMC warned that if the already high tensions with China continue to escalate, TSMC operations could pretty much cease. According to current chairman of TSMC, Mark Liu, if China were to physically invade Taiwan, TSMC wouldn't be able to cooperate due to their reliance on the global supply chain. At the end of the day, human lives would be impacted, which is the biggest tragedy. But even if you personally don't care about that, what you do care about is your own convenience. No more chips mean no more new smartphones, computers, appliances, or cars in the near horizon. Or you'll have to use your devices longer before you can upgrade. This would be a bigger technology crisis than the shortage we've been seeing so far. So now, if China does invade Taiwan, this will further hurt car companies. EV makers will take the biggest hit since they require even more electronics than traditional cars. Regardless of EV or conventional gasoline cars, high-tech features in cars will get nixed. If you're wondering where the other chip makers are, well, specific to the car industry, the largest automatic chip suppliers other than TSMC include Infineon Technologies in Germany. They supply more than 13% of the car's industry's chips. Next up is NXP Semiconductors in the Netherlands. They supply 10%. And then there's Renesas in Japan at 8.5%, and Texas Instruments at 8.3%. Anyway, if you think that's bad, it gets far worse. And it's something that even Homeland Security is shaking in their boots about. What if China were to take the TSMC facilities in Taiwan and use resources to boost its own mainland needs? This would give China a massive global technological advantage, which would present a literal nightmare scenario for U.S. Homeland Security and other countries too. The thing is, China believes Taiwan belongs to them. It doesn't really recognize Taiwan as an independent sovereign nation. The conflict between China and Taiwan is nothing new. It's been evolving since 1945, when China subjected the island of Taiwan and other territories in the area to this political regime of communism. China currently claims sovereignty over the self-ruled island. China considers Taiwan a breakaway province. Taiwan considers itself an independent country and even has its own constitution and democratically elected leaders. The numbers aren't on Taiwan's side. China has 412,000 ground force personnel in their eastern and southern fleets. Taiwan only has 88,000. And remember, Taiwan is an island country. The island nation is absolutely outnumbered in fighter jets, warships, and submarines. Actually, Taiwan has no aircraft carriers at all, not even one. Obviously, they don't have the power to defend themselves. If China does declare war and invade Taiwan, the loss of human lives would be by far the worst consequence. But also, Taiwanese shipping lanes would be negatively affected. You see, the shipping lanes in Taiwan are among one of the busiest in the entire world, as it is. Let's put this in perspective. In the first 7 months of this year alone, almost half of the world's 5,400 container ships used the Taiwan Strait. These ships were transporting not only semiconductors and cell phones, but also appliances and clothing. But in addition to that, some 88% of the largest container ships of the world use the waterway. So if China invades Taiwan, well, these shipping lanes would no longer be safe to pass. So you can imagine what havoc this will throw on the shipping industry. But on a positive impact, most of those ships are Chinese ships delivering Chinese products to the world, and they'd kind of be doing themselves a disservice by closing the shipping lanes. TSMC Chairman Mark Liu stated that war brings no winners. Everybody loses. He added that TSMC's manufacturing facilities are very sophisticated, and they depend on real-time connection with the outside world, especially with countries like Japan, the US, and those in Europe. TSMC depends on these countries for everything from chemicals to materials, spare parts, and even engineering software and diagnosis. Hopefully by now you can see why in our connected world, offshore conflicts like this no longer impact just local countries, but also impact everyone in the world, including you and me. Here's another serious consequence. We all agree that prices are higher than we've ever seen. In fact, inflation is at an all-time 40-year high. Now, the U.S. government isn't just sitting idly by. It's actively trying to control it. But Chinese tensions are seriously complicating the U.S. government's efforts to reduce prices and control inflation. If the U.S. gets drawn further into a possible Chinese-Taiwanese war, it could lower the U.S. gross domestic product by 5 to 10%. And the U.S. is aware of this. Actually, most of the major world governments are, and they're already preparing. They're literally pouring billions of dollars to improve their domestic chip manufacturing capabilities. Take the U.S., for example. Congress recently passed a $52 billion funding bill to help Intel Corporation and also TSMC to boost their chip manufacturing footprint in the United States. But China's not dumb either. They know how important Taiwan is to the world. And they know that any retaliation on their part will obviously have repercussions, be it sanctions and other consequences. Just think what happened to Russia when they invaded Ukraine. For the most part, the whole Western world turned against Russia and started supporting Ukraine. All eyes are on China now to see which card they will play. But now you tell me, do you think China will invade Taiwan? And do you even care? Please share your opinion by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.